It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 109 today. Really glad that you're with us. Let's dive in. Clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. The pool is ready to go. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore with steaks today. And off to the right on the grill, we have hot dogs and hamburgers for those of you who requested it. We have fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, tea, coffee, espresso. Remember, one of our listeners donated an espresso machine. We appreciate that very much. In the back left corner of the pool area, inside the screen, we have a cigar bar. Help yourself. We have plenty of towels, extra lotion, even a few extra chairs. So if you brought nothing at all, you can still come on in and enjoy the next hour with us. And don't forget that hammock, which is right outside the screen, tied between two trees. If you need a nap, just want to relax, you can use the hammock as well, per a listener request. And we put that hammock up just for you. How about that? Well, on today's show, we will hear from ANDEE and Tom RODGERS. They're back. That's right. They're visiting resorts, submitting reports, so we'll get to them in just a moment. Part one of my interview with Gary Mussell, the first and longtime president of the SCNA, Southern California Naturist Association, also a past president for AANR West, and he is an author as well. So part one today with Gary. And, of course, we'll have the terrific, the completely over-the-top Lisa Monroe in a few minutes as well. But for now, let's head out to the latest report from ANDEE RODGERS and her husband, Tom.
Hi, this is ANDEE.
And Tom on our WINR on Perfect Tour 2025.
Well, it was a year in the making, but we finally got to visit Helios Nudists Association, which is east of Edmonton, Alberta. So we had planned our visit last year, but I got very sick, and I did not want to spread that nastiness around. So we were welcomed at the gate by the hostess, who showed us to our cabin and gave us some time to unpack and settle in before picking us up on the limousine to give us a tour. She was right about the limousine. I don't think I've ever seen a triple-seater at a club before. So we rode around in style, and were shown where to find all the things we would need, and gave us some history of Helios. Well, Friday night, we participated in karaoke, and later that evening enjoyed some time with many of the members around one of the many patio fires and parties that were on the grounds that night. Saturday was a gorgeous day, so we spent some time at the pool. So this is my new favorite pool. It is so warm when you step in, and I don't know how they do it, but the water sends you around the pool, floating. And as I'm floating, giving way to lots of conversation and just everyone enjoying the pool. Saturday evening, there was a murder mystery event in the clubhouse, a good old-fashioned whodunit. Indeed. I guessed incorrectly, of course. I'm not real good at those games. And then on to another patio fire that evening until the wee hours of 11 p.m. Fun fact, it's still light outside at 11 p.m. in Edmonton. So it's a very strange sensation indeed. Sunday brought some rain, but that was just fine. I had 12 women join me in the clubhouse for the I'm Perfect presentation. I told them thank you for the sunshine the night before, as I had a bit of a sunburn on my chest. Usually when I get nervous, my neck and chest turn red, but today they wouldn't be able to tell. And I was nervous since it had been a full year since I'd done the presentation. I was introduced by Georgina, who was my contact for setting up our stay at Helios. She presented me with $250 from ANDEE Western Canada region to help with expenses on our trip. What a generous gift indeed. Thank you so much to our Canadian sisters and brothers in nudism, and especially a thank you to Georgina, who paid for our stay while at Helios. Thank you so much, Georgina. As I talked about my journey into nudism, I could see many emotions that were running high. My story has multiple aspects of it: abuse, very low self esteem, neglect, depression, anger, loneliness, until finally acceptance, a love of myself, and an amazing community of women to uplift and support me on this journey. As I spoke, I felt most of these women connected with me on multiple levels in their own journey. So there were lots of emotion and lots of tears, not only of sorrow, but also of joy. So we spent another hour just sitting around talking with each other and enjoying each other's company before going our separate ways. Many of them had to leave and head back home since it was Sunday.
So, on the road again. So, our 900-mile trek through the mountains of Canada to Helios was a sight to be seen. We were well received once through the gate. Everybody made us feel so welcome. Once we got settled in, we met with some of our friends that we had made down at Shangri-La earlier this year. Everybody was looking forward to the Sunday meeting. On Sunday, we met in the library with 12 men attending. We first started discussing our lives and how we got into nudism. That wound up being quite a talk. Everybody had different stories, and we were all acknowledged that we loved the nude life. We discussed a lot of topics on the same questions of getting more people into our grounds, not necessarily young people, which we all agreed that meant 40, 50 years old, because we know the younger ones are still in their professional lives. I had questions for them on how AANR related to Canadian members. They brought up a couple scenarios of a few cases where they called the Florida office and asked for advice, and they said it was a big help. We, of course, had a few beers and snacks, along with lots of laughter, while getting to know each other for about 2 hours. That evening, we were invited out for dinner at our friend's place, and we had an incredible evening getting to know them better and meeting some new people as well. Leaving the grounds the next morning, we both wished it was closer to home so we could visit this place more often. Well, until next time, we'll see you down the road.
The very terrific ANDEE Rogers and her husband Tom. What amazing work they do. ANDEE with women in nude recreation, and Tom meets with the guys when they go on these trips to these resorts. And we will hear from ANDEE and Tom a whole bunch more throughout the summer. As they visit a resort, they submit a report, we get it on the show, and we thank ANDEE Rogers and her husband, Tom Rogers. Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 109 today. Really glad that you are with us. Let's enjoy this hour together. Close free living for all the right reasons. And I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music. Do you hear it? Let's listen for just a moment. Yes, there it is. I hear it. I hope you do too. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free, and completely smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free, and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific. How are you?
I am not bad at all. The only regret is we don't have a lot of time for us today, because I wanted to make sure that ANDEE and Tom had their segment. They're back at it. They're on the WINR tour, and they're doing things the next few weeks for sure. And as they submit reports, we'll get them on. And I don't usually go out there publicly and pass judgment on people. It's just not something we do publicly. You and I do it a lot behind the scenes.
Oh, you shouldn't say that. No. We're really good. We're really good. We say good things.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But I don't think I've ever found two nicer, more decent human beings than ANDEE Rogers and her husband, Tom Rogers. I'm guessing you agree. They are just unbelievably over the top, decent, genuinely nice people. And we like and respect them a lot, right?
We certainly do, and I've had not as much contact with Andy certainly as you have, and but the little bit that I have, I've found her to just be delightful, and she's smart and she's grounded and she's dedicated to what she's doing, and it's hard work what they do, but both she and Tom are amazing in that they are out there saying, "Hey, we can fix this. We can help you." And they are, and they put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. So I really, really like both of them.
Yes, yeah. And that's why we always make the time for them. Whatever they need, they can get on this show to promote all that they're doing. Okay, let's dive in. We have a Patreon page. Everybody knows why. We gave up paid work to do this show for free. A really bad business plan, if there ever was one. You've jumped to the forefront. You're helping to support the show. We are meeting expenses, so we appreciate that very much. Lisa Monroe, who are our two brand new Patreon peeps for the week?
We have two by the name of Melanie and Mark. And we really thank both of them for joining us. I hope they're going to have a good time with all the extra stuff we do for the Patreon members.
Absolutely. And special content, you get a newsletter if you're at the upper two tiers. Keep that in mind. And we thank Melanie directly. We thank Mark directly for your support. How about merchandise, Lisa? Anything new on that front?
Well, basically, the products are there. We added a few couple of things, and there is a couple more things that I had hoped to have done by this week, but I haven't. I will get those out by next week. But and kind of cool little things. And but otherwise, people are just responding, and we're getting orders. And don't forget, you've still got plenty of summer now, so for beach towels and caps and everything. And by the way, you people down under. Your summer's coming soon, so get prepared.
That's true. That is true. It's time to stock up now, and things are flying off the shelves.
Yes.
How do they find our merchandise store?
Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.com. Click on the NNN sign and it'll take you to the orders, to the merchandise. And then you have a little menu down where you can go to chat and to check out and all those things.
Okay. All right. Very good. So check it out. Go to our website and click on the merchandise and you'll be good to go. And we thank you for your support there as well. And let's get those coffee mugs and towels and hats and everything else at the beach, at the grocery store, at the post office, at church. Why not? You can be naked according to the Bible, so maybe have clothes on. Well, yeah, you'll have a T-shirt on. So we appreciate that very much. We want to remind everybody again, this coming Wednesday, Lisa Monroe, only 4 days from now.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people are thinking, I love the Saturday show, but then I have to wait 7 more days for another one.
We've had that comment.
Yes, we have many times. But now you're only going to wait 4 days. That's right, on this coming Wednesday. 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time. We are debuting the new way of doing the show, but it'll be Wednesdays only. Just Lisa and I, no guests, just the two of us talking about topics and natures. And we might have some music, some poetry to read, whatever. It's kind of a mishmash of everything, except no guests. And we're debuting at this coming Wednesday, July 30, 12 noon Eastern Time. So look for that. There are no time limits put on the Wednesday shows. It might be shorter than an hour. It might be longer than an hour. It just goes week to week, and we'll figure it out as we go. Lisa Monroe, are you excited beyond belief for our show together?
I am very excited about this. And, again, we've had people that we let the patrons know first, the people on Patreon, and they were really enthusiastic. So we hope that everyone will be. And, it'll give us a chance again to get more in depth about things that we talk about on this show. So it'll just be a continuation of this week's show. But just a little side.
Yeah, it'll
So,
be more. Well, not only more of us, it'll be
mhm.
all of us, only
Yes,
us. on
yes,
Wednesday,
yes,
what
yes.
people have requested. All right, so that starts this coming Wednesday, July 30, 12 noon Eastern Time. Be there or be square, as somebody once said. I didn't say that, but I heard that somewhere. So I won't
Yes.
say that because it sounds too lame. Anyway, we have a few listeners who wrote in. The first one is from a gentleman whom we cannot identify by name because he's in a legal battle right now involving naturism. He loves the nude life, and there's a divorce going on, and the wife is using that against him, and it's not going well, but he's fighting the battle, and hopefully he'll end up on the winning side. I know he's been in touch with AANR, and he said he's willing to come on the show when everything is settled and done and gone. He obviously doesn't want to come out here and make comments in the middle of proceedings. That could always backfire. So let's go ahead and read his emails. There are two of them. The first one's fairly lengthy, but we'll read quickly. You talked about how discovering naturism without your spouse and how to talk about it. And I wanted to share a cautionary tale as I was in this situation after discovering naturism over the COVID lockdowns. And Lisa, if you don't mind, take it from there.
My spouse was the one who showed me it was okay to be non-sexually naked. She showed me how great sleeping naked felt. I eventually started dipping my toes into being nude in nature and nude around others, something I knew she would push back on, but I did it anyways. I eventually started dipping my toes into being nude in nature and nude around others, something I knew she would push back on, but I did it anyways. I ended up revealing that I took a day off work and went to an ANDEE resort and absolutely loved it. She was none too happy about it and told me in no uncertain terms that I basically cheated on her and she would not join me and would not allow me to go on my own. We ended up spending thousands on marriage counseling, which revealed that nudism wasn't the issue. It was a communication issue. Pressing further, I realized that I was being emotionally abused and ended up filing for divorce.
All right, now read the next paragraph. I am much happier now that I don't need to be in the closet about my nudism. My new partner will join me sometimes at the resorts and will usually be naked with me at my apartment, and we'll do things like yoga and hanging out on the balcony naked. It's private! Exclamation point. I, I told her I was a nudist before even meeting her, and I'd recommend that approach, which we've talked about before.
Yes, we have.
Early and often. Some events I've attended, such as naked karaoke and naked bowling, are incredible conversation starters and can weed out people who you might waste time on. You want to read the next paragraph.
The ugly is that she was able to weaponize my nudism against me and was able to strip me of my rights with my child, which has cost me $200,000 and counting. The case is still pending, and I think I will get him back at some point. But the cautionary tale is that even in a liberal state, nudism can be used against you in a divorce case. I would advise anyone who might be entering a divorce over this not to take any photos at all, as one nude photo with a buddy or in a completely empty backcountry swimming hole could get you labeled as a pervert by lawyers and judges. And when you're stuck trying to prove a negative, no parent should have to go through what I am going through.
That story is beyond horrifying to me.
It is.
I feel anger. I try to not get angry because that can, you get your emotions all befuddled and then you make bad moves. But this ticks me off. He strictly wants to live clothes free for all the right reasons. He wasn't peering in windows or jumping out of bushes. And now she didn't want him to do that. Okay, we've talked about that before. We get to this point where there's now a divorce and she's using his love of naturism against him. When again, he's not broken any laws. He went to a dang resort. So we will revisit this a little bit more on this coming Wednesday when we have a little more time. But he did send a few follow-up emails. I'll read one of them right now. One other thing I wanted to share is that my lawyer says that I should no longer be a nudist until the divorce is done. So no memberships, no credit card receipts. She wants me to be able to say, no, I haven't done nudism. Judge, I'm cured. If I am asked. It's like if 50 years ago I was getting a divorce and it was revealed that I'm actually gay, the judge would throw the book at me and say, how could a gay man ever be a good father? Well, these days my lawyer is preparing for, how could a nudist be a good father? Boy, does that tick me off.
Oh.
We will talk about this more on Wednesday because time is short today.
Yeah.
But he did ended by saying, I'm thankful knowing that my local resort won't reveal that I've been going and then I can pay in cash. So again, we'll revisit it in horrifying. And I know Anna's involved or was involved. I'm not sure. We'll try to get more specifics on that. But we want to move right now to a couple of DMs we got from Scott. He's from Texas. He writes in a lot. He was our first one to hit us up on Twitter when the show started, our first website visitor, I believe.
Yes, he was.
And let me read the first one here. Just for the heck of it, I checked out all of the other naturism podcasts, and the 100th episode of Naked Nudists and Naturists is the longest episode by time. Well, we didn't set out to set a record.
No, we didn't.
We're just doing our thing and giving you what we told people want. And then he talked about some other shows. The next longest, ours was almost 4 hours. It was 3 hours, 49 minutes. This other show, an episode went 2 hours and 38 minutes. That show's long gone. They haven't done episodes for a while. Another show went 2 hours and 14 minutes and 44 seconds. And that's about it after that in terms of time. So I guess we set the record, Lisa. We didn't set out to do it. It wasn't even in our mindset to do that. But here we are. How about that?
I'm surprised in some ways, but when we put that show together, there was just so many components, things we wanted to say, things our listeners wanted to say, and then the music part came in, which I think everybody really enjoyed. So put that all together, and it took some time.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another DM from Scott, a little bit lengthier. We'll save that for Wednesday too. See, already the Wednesday shows are paying off, and we haven't even started them. So we'll get to that in 4 days.
Absolutely.
But there is a shorter one he sent, and it's Frank, you, and Lisa mentioned Steve Allen. He was once a panelist on What's My Line when one of the contestants was Yolanda Reed, better known as Zelda Suplee, who ran a nudist resort. Arlene Francis guest. She runs a nudist resort. This was June 14th of 1953. It's easy to find on YouTube. So they were even discussing nudism, naturism in the 50s on TV. Hard to find that now, isn't it?
It certainly is. And I think the key thing here is that a show that was very popular thought it was just fine to bring someone on who owned a nudist camp. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there was nothing bad about that. It was not a late night TV show with the censors in bed. It was right out there for everybody. So it was normal.
Yeah, we thank you for that, Scott. We will read your lengthier one on this coming Wednesday, and we appreciate you very much, and we appreciate the other gentleman who must remain nameless for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And Lisa Monroe, with that, we are going to have to head for the hills. We're going to get to part one of my interview with Gary Mussell, longtime advocate and huge backer of naturism, nudism from the SCNA, also the president of AANR-W for a while. And looking forward to that. You'll be here at the end of the show, though, right?
Yes, I will.
All right, go out there and have a great close-free half hour or so. We'll see you in just a little bit.
I'll do so. Bye.
All right. Bye. The very terrific Lisa Monroe. She does a whole bunch around here, does these segments, of course. Will now be doing the Wednesday shows with me, does all of our website work, helps out on Patreon, creates those memes that you see on Twitter and social media and on our Patreon page. And she and I are in discussion every single day, 7 days a week, sometimes for multiple hours, discussing this show, what to do, what to not do, how to improve, how to get this done and that done. And we appreciate Lisa Monroe very much. Well, as a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. But if not, you can become a member today. Just go to AANR.com, follow the navigation to get you to membership, and within moments, you will become a member of AANR, just like I am, and just like Lisa Monroe is. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 109 today. Really glad that you are with us. We enjoy this time together. Even if it is vicariously, we just enjoy being with you, and I know you enjoy being with us today, enjoying clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. And now let's get to part one of my interview with Gary Mussell, longtime president of SCNA, past president for ANDEE, and also an author. So here we go, part one with Gary Mussell. We are headed out to California today, Southern California, the Los Angeles area in particular, to talk with a gentleman who's a big name in the world of naturism and nudism. He's pretty much done it all, and we're going to get into everything, including the time he was the president for the American Association for Nude Recreation, the West region. He's also the founding president of the Southern California Naturism Association. I can go on forever about his accomplishments and what he's done, but I'd rather bring him to the show. But he's also written some books. We'll get into that as well. So let's welcome from Southern California, Gary Mussell. Good morning, Gary. How are you today, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Not bad. Just wondering if you're tired, because I'm almost worn out just from reading your resume because there's so much on it. I don't want to say you've been around a long time. That would be rude, but you have done a lot, haven't you?
I don't know the word no. I think that's one of my character flaws.
Well, plus you probably had the bad habit of showing up for meetings on election night, right?
Showing up too often.
Yeah.
If you at the meeting, opening my mouth and getting volunteered. Yes.
Yeah, I've been through that a number of times myself, not with naturism organizations, but if you show up and you act like you kind of have an idea, hey, why don't we call Gary? He'll be the president for the next 150 years, or Frank, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're volunteering our backsides off. But you've done a heck of a job. I mean, you've done a lot out there, and you and I have never met until today, but believe me, I knew who you were and I knew a lot about you just because your name has been out there for so long. Now, before we get into all that you've done and all that's going on with the resorts and the clubs, just give us a quick story. How in the world did you find naturism and the joys of it and why it works so well?
I always kind of had this sense I wanted to try it since I was a kid, but I lived in a fairly strict home, and so I never really got many chances. When I got to be an adult, I married somebody who had a very bad body image, and she didn't want to try it. But I said, okay, I'll find a way. And there was one day when we all went down to the beach in LA to look at tide pools. I had a 7-year-old at the time, and she loved tide pools. And we went down to Paradise Cove and walked north because that was where the map says there were tide pools. And we kept walking and walking, and we came around a corner. There was a beach there called Doom Cove Beach, and there was several thousand nude people on this beach. And my wife said, "Oh my God!" And I said, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And the tide pools are down here. Let's just keep going. And my daughter at the time said, "Yippee!" And she threw her bathing suit off and went running down the beach, and we had to run after her. So I said, "Well, I was wanting to try this. Let's do it too." She said, "No, you're not going to do this. No, 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 no." Um, but I always remembered it. And I went back to the office and I mentioned to some what we had done on the weekend. And the guy I was talking to said, "Oh, yeah, me and my wife go down there all the time." I went, "What?
Yeah,
This is not something you talk about in an office environment."
right.
"Ah, yeah. Oh, well, let us know next time you're interested. We'll bring you down." No, seeing you naked and seeing your wife naked is not really on my list. But about a year later, my wife and daughter went north to Washington to visit her sister. And so I was home for a week, and the guy came in my office and said, "This is your chance." I went, My chance for what?" He said, "Remember a year ago you talked about the beach?" Oh, oh yeah. "You'll never know. Just go on down to the beach, and you'll get it out of your system, and you can check off the bucket list." And I went, "Hmm." And so I excused myself for the next day and went down to the beach. It was pretty much empty when I got there, until I got there early. And I had that sense of, well, nobody's going to be here, so I'm not going to get undressed. And then people started to show up, and it said, "I'm the only one dressed." I feel like, I'm the reverse of the nightmare.
Yeah.
Everybody's nude but me. And so I took my bathing suit off and immediately rolled onto my stomach and said, "Oh my God, I did this." And about a half hour later, I started smelling flesh burning that had never been burned before. And I went, "Oh, I've got to do something about this."
Yeah.
So I rolled over and got up and did the walk of shame into the beach. The 10 minutes of terror everybody always talks about the first time they do it. And I tried to walk like I'd done it a million times before. And I just walked in the ocean and said, "Oh my God, they're all looking at me. They're all judging me. I'm too big, too little, too whatever." And as I got toward the beach, I realized nobody was looking, and no one was mad. Like, why aren't they looking at me?
Right. Right.
I'm having this little trauma, and nobody's paying attention. That's when I realized that that's what the beach was. Nobody cares. And I got in the water and had my first experience of experiencing the water without a bathing suit. I said, "This feels pretty good." So I enjoyed the day. Got back. And unfortunately, I sunburned myself where I shouldn't have sunburned myself because
Yeah.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
A week later, my wife came back. By that time, I was peeling. And so, which I didn't realize, but at night she said, "What's that? Why are you peeling there?" I went, I don't know. Am I peeling back there?"
Oh boy.
And she said, "You went back to that nude beach, didn't you?" I went, "Yeah, I did. You weren't going
Yeah.
to do it." So I figured it. And she just, "Oh my God, I can't believe I can't, this whole horrible thing."
Yeah. Sure.
And so we got through all that, like I was cheating on her, and we had that whole discussion. And then A week later or so, we were having dinner with friends, and she had to bring it on. Can you believe what my husband did while I was gone? He went down to this nude beach, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe this. And the other couple said, oh, yeah, we go down there all the time. And she went, what? And I said, what? And so, oh, yeah, no, we go down there. We don't talk about it, no, because we figure other people will judge us. But I started realizing this was maybe the world's best kept secret. And
Yeah.
she brought it up at a couple other times, and people there, almost everybody said, yeah, we go down there. And I went,
Yeah.
I don't understand this. This is a whole big phenomenon. Now, this is the late 70s. We're still at the cusp of there being lots and lots of nude beaches in California. But I kept the thought, and a couple of years later, we got divorced over other issues. And I said, okay, now I'm free to go down to the beach again. And I started going down regularly. But then the police started coming down, giving tickets, doing all their thing. And some people on the beach said, why don't you go to Elysium? Wait, what's that? I said, well, that's a club you can go to up here in Topanga. It's private. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff. They got a great pool, great people. And I said, okay, so I'll give that a try. And so I went and had my first experience there. And I joined right away, and I was a member there for the last 20 years, and it was in existence. And I wound up being taking my second family, my daughters came up on Sundays. They used to go up there. They used to run around in the pool and have a lot of friends. Of course, I opened my big mouth. By that time, I was a big wig at Intel, and I knew how to do web pages. And they had a terrible web page, and I went and told the office, and you can do better than this. And they said, well, can you do it? And that was my life-changing moment. I said, yeah, I can do this. I said yes. And I went and changed their website, and they loved it so much that they put me on the board of directors. And so I was in the board of directors the last 4 or 5 years that they were in existence before after Ed Lang died, but his daughters sold the land, and they were homeless. And I'll spare you the last of the story, but basically I was seen as the guy with all the business acumen. And so they said, can you do something for us? And we called a meeting offsite at a member's house. And I said, what do you want to do? And they said, well, we want to form a club. And I said, well, there's no land. We can't afford land in California anymore. It's just too expensive. But we could do a non-landed club. We could just do backyard parties and stuff like that. They said, okay, sounds good. So I put together bylaws and got a board directors organized and did all that stuff. And they made me the first president. And after the first year, I said, okay, I'm done with this stuff. I can retire now. And they said, oh, no, you're not retiring. And so I said, okay, one more year. And every year it was one more year. And that took 10 years before I finally found somebody else who'd take it over. And that's Rolf Holbach, who is still president now. He's been president now for 12 years. But I was president for the first 10, 11 years of it. Got it off the ground, got its nonprofit status, broke it out of just being a backyard group and other things like that. And then because of my reputation, I got asked to join the Beaches Foundation board of directors. That's in Florida, Hollover Beach with Shirley and Richard. But they asked me to be on their board to help with with Hollover. So I did that for about 10 years. AANR asked me to be on their government affairs committee, which is met like once a month. Went through legislation around the country. I went yes again because didn't know how to say no. I did that for 11 years. The Bates people from Bates came to us and said we've been kicked off our beach up in at the boundary of Santa Barbara and Ventura County. Can you get it back? And I said, well, in all honesty, once you lose the beach, the history is that you never get it back. He said, but
Yeah.
we decided that we could do some public relations work in Santa Barbara County. And even if we couldn't get the beach back, we could at least educate people into the joy of nudism and that it was harmless and actually beneficial. So there was a plus side, whether we got the beach back or not. So we joined the Chamber of Commerce, and we did other things like that, and got involved with the politics of Carpinteria, the city, which is right next to the beach, and the board of supervisors, and found that we had some people who were on those boards who grew up at the beach, and they said, yeah, well, let's get the beach back, but they wouldn't vote for it because nudism, as you may know, is one of those third rails of politics.
Yeah.
You could never officially vote for it because then you'll be labeled as a pervert or a child molester supporter or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's always by verbal. So okay, you can have the beach back, but and behave, but we can't do it officially. And that's how most of the beaches in the country work now. They're on a verbal agreement. It took me 10 years, but in 2017, we actually got a verbal agreement for the supervisors to bring the beach back. We formed a group called the Beach Ambassadors, which is also in effect at Hullover and Gunnison, which is a group of people who volunteer to work like a homeowners association. They go up and down the beach, make sure people behave and don't cross the line sexually. The supervisors love that. We got no tickets. We made sure people were behaving. And to this day, the beach is back, and it attracts 50 to 100 people a weekend. We don't make a big deal about it because we don't want 1,000 people up there that would then be unmanageable. But as long as it stays small and what it is, we are able to survive up there. So I did that. I was their founding member of their board, and again, but last year I had to resign for medical reasons, but. Along through all that, then parallel to that, Anna picked me up when I did the GAT stuff, and I didn't want to be on their board while I was also SCNA president. It's
Right.
my personal philosophy. You cannot be a club owner or a president of a club and do an adequate job and also serve the other master, which is the ANDEE board of directors, which looks
Right.
at many clubs, and you have to kind of think outside your own club's best interest sometimes. So
Right.
I said, no, not while I'm president. So as soon as Ross took over, they said, okay, come on down. Of course, I said, yes. So I was on the board several years. I was kind of the gadfly, always saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Their membership had been declining. They had about 50,000 members in 2000, which was the peak. Just
Sure.
before the internet took over, I blamed the internet and my own private, what I did for a living, that as soon as people started being able to talk directly to each other, they didn't need to have a club to go to.
Oh.
And membership started to decline. And then in 2007, when the cell phones came out, it showed that the membership took a big hit down. And then COVID hit, it did another bump down. And Anna's now at around 25,000 people, as opposed to 50. It's level, but it is slowly declining. Maybe 500 members a year. It gets lower and lower, slow pace. But the other part of that is that the number of clubs is declining. In 2000, there were 270 clubs, and I just did a count the other day, and there's 150.
Oh.
About 50 of which are under 10 members, so they're kind of hanging on. So there's 100 strong clubs around the nation. Man, that's barely functional, in my opinion. Also, ANR went to a process where people can join them directly as opposed to joining through a club, which was always the mechanism. And now 41% of all the members in ANR belong to the national organization and don't belong to a club. So I inherited this when I became ANR West president in 2017, and trying to find a way to keep those people in. I did a survey and found that people actually belong to clubs for about 5 years is the average. Some, of course, like me, never say no, and we stick it on forever.
Yeah.
But that's only about 20% of the club membership. The rest of it is in turnover.
Okay.
If you've ever been involved in sales and marketing, your best sale is the renewal, is to get people to come back. The way it works is that statistically, it's about 5-6 years is about all that a club has before people take their disposable income and go try something else. So you got this turnover issue that's going on, and I inherited that, trying to hold on, and I had a lot of club presidents who just didn't want to change. They said, we're doing fine. Until they weren't, and then COVID came along and really hurt them hard. So I had 2 positive years as president, and the other 2 years it was survival mode. And my term was up, and Cindy Tendick now.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've interviewed a few months ago. Took
Yeah.
over from me. She inherited what I had. I think my biggest accomplishment was keeping it together. because COVID took a hit across the country and all kinds of things. But that's kind of what I've done. Retired. I had a mini stroke a year ago and found that I had to recover from that. So I had to resign from everything, which was a shock to all of them. But it was a shock to me too, medically.
Yeah.
But they've all survived. They've all found a way to go on. One thing that the ego has to understand is that all of us are dispensable. None of us are the important person that have to be there to keep an organization alive. If you build it correctly, it'll survive.
Yeah.
And they have. So I've retired, gone back to my first love, which is writing. I published a couple of books. I'm still working on a couple others, including one which is on my list of things to do, which is a history of Elysium Fields and Ed Lang. As the last board of director member there, I got all the records. I took all the minutes and the court cases and zoning fights and everything that went on with that place. I have it here at home. It's about 12 banker's boxes worth of material. And I've been told I need to write this before I die.
Yeah.
So since I've had my stroke, suddenly I'm feeling, well, maybe I better get to it sooner than later. So when I finish my the novels I'm working on now, that's the next thing on the list, probably early next year, God willing. So that's an awful long biography, but you said that I have been around a long time, and I've been doing all this stuff really since the early 1990s. And I think because I never said no, I just wound up being in charge. But that's kind of my resume, as it were. So I'm now in a position to be the old sage in the rocking chair on the porch, giving advice to everybody who doesn't want to listen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are here today. I'm being interviewed as the old sage. So
All right.
long answer to your question, but I hope that answers a lot of what you may have been curious about.
Yeah, very much so. Now, we don't keep records here on what I'm about to say, but it's possible, Gary Mussell, we're talking to Gary Mussell today, that is the longest answer to any question I've ever asked on the show. So you received first place, but everything you said is very valuable information, about the history, about the beaches, about the clubs, about, AANR West and SCNA. I mean, you've been through a lot, you've done a lot, you've accomplished a lot, and you've given us quite a bit of information there. I do want to ask you a couple questions. So let's go back almost to the beginning of your story. When you first went to not when you first went to the nude beach, but when you first went there alone, your wife and your family were up north, and you thought, oh boy, when you decided to go into the water, everyone's going to stare at me, make fun of me, point their fingers at me. Because that's kind of how we feel when we're in elementary school and middle school. I don't want to go sharpen my pencil because then they'll look at me and they'll see my pants are too tight, too loose, my shirt. We're always thinking everybody is judging us, which in some cases they are. But there's something about the whole naturism, nudism community that you can't explain until you've done it, like you did. That does not happen there. You would think, as an outsider looking in, okay, if I walk to the beach in my bathing suit, they're going to say, well, that's too big or too small. They should have had a different color. So you're thinking, well, when I take my suit off, now they're really going to make comments. For whatever reason, see if you can add some levity to this. It's the opposite. People, oh, yeah, there's some guy getting in the water, whatever. Anyway, how about another lemonade? Really, people don't care because they're nude as well. You're nude. We're there to have a good time. The joys of naturism, as I call it. Any insight as to why, when we expect more judgment, it actually goes away?
I think it comes down to the American culture. We are based, we have an advertising culture. I mean, it's based on shame and solutions. We're always told that something's wrong with us, but I have this product that'll make it better. We're told that bathing suits are sexy. And they are. Bathing suits are very sexual as opposed to nudism. Once the suit is off, it's not really sexual at all.
Yeah.
We've all got the same body parts. But what I was told when I was in Elysium, one of my mentors there was saying that we all watch people get undressed because it's the unknown. I wonder what her nipples look like. I wonder what pattern she has in her. Is she shaved or unshaved? Has she done does she have a particular pubic hair pattern? Things like this that are unknown. As soon as it's there and the answer is solved, you go, oh, okay, fine. She looks like the rest of us, and
Yeah.
you turn your attention elsewhere. So it's the undressing and the bathing suit sexual part that is prime to us in our culture. But also, the other thing that I've tried to explain to people is that most of our swear words are based around body functions.
Yeah.
If you think about that, and that's
Yeah.
also very much American. In Europe, when they want to call somebody a bad name, they call them a pig, or they throw their
Yeah.
shoes at them, or they do something
Yeah.
like this, but they don't.
Yeah.
But body parts. But we're always talking to people. People are pricks, or people, or the F word, or any other words. That they're all body functions, the shaming people like that is the worst thing they could do. So when nudity comes along, suddenly you're displaying the part that you were using to shame people, and I think that's that's a lot of the culture that nudists have to overcome, and that's why it's not more popular, because and the judging comes in because it's a shame-based society.
Yeah. I think I've told this story on the show before, but I was driving along the road that goes north and south along the Atlantic Ocean in Florida. And there was a line of cars as you approach this one light. There's only one light in this small beach town, which is very crowded. Lots of people there. Everyone's headed to the beach or back from the beach. But as you get close to the downtown area, traffic slows down. And just then, these two young ladies walked across the street from the beach, across the street to a party store, and they barely had any clothes on at all. Probably, if not the smallest bikinis in history, darn close to it. Now, they were carrying towels. They easily could have wrapped a towel around their body or thrown shorts on, but they didn't. They did it on purpose, in my view. And of course, every car was honking away, to beat the band, honk honk. These gals are parading across the street and taking it all in. And I thought to myself, okay, they were, by probably societal means, very attractive young ladies, and they looked really good in their bikinis. And yeah, the sexual aspect was there. And I thought, if all of us were nude and they walked across the street nude, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. And again, that's hard to explain until you've actually been there. But you're right. And this one comedian told me, I've told this on the show as well, too. He said men are very respectful of women at the beach. Women show up with a bathing suit of 3 very small triangles, and the rest is all skin. And he said, but instead of focusing on all the skin, they only focus on the parts that have clothing on them out of respect for the women. And, obviously that's the dumbest thing we ever heard or said, but there's a lot of truth to that. You want to know what the unknown is. As you said, what's behind there. Is it this? Is it that? Who knows? And so that's what you're focused on, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, is that we are geared toward what we can't see.
Yeah.
We want what we don't have. The whole advertising mantra in America is you want something that I have something that you don't have, and
Yeah.
and you should have it. And so I think this plays into that with the bathing suits. Yeah, I've seen those bathing suits too, and I always say, why bother?
Yeah.
But there's also a difference between exhibitionism, which these women may have had, and
I
nudism.
would say, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exhibition is do it in order to get arousal from another person. They may have done it on purpose to be honked at because
Oh, yeah.
what they wanted to do. Nudists would just walk across the street and not even think about it. They
Yeah.
get honked at and they go, yeah, go away. And they would just keep going. Because nudism is not really sexual, and that's very hard for anybody who's not a nudist to really understand. It's one of the hardest things to tell people. People always say, "Why are you a nudist? Why would you want to do that?" And I said, "It's joy. It's just the feeling of wind against your skin, or not having the encumbrances of anything on you. It's amazing." And some of these people are closet nudists at home. They would just never do it in front of anybody else.
Right.
And I always tell people to start, just when you get out of the shower, just don't get dressed after your shower. Just go
Yeah.
around the house, sit in the towel,
Yeah.
and get used to it that way. And then
Yeah.
if you've got family members, slowly get the families involved. Of course, then you come back, well, you're you're grooming your kids, you're a sexual pervert, so you have to be
Yeah.
careful of the situation.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of families who are nude or partially nude around America all the time. Just nobody will ever talk about it because they don't want to be judged or shamed or arrested.
Yeah.
And the next step is to be nude in front of somebody who's not your immediate family, to invite them over to the backyard or pool or something like that, or somebody drops their suit by accident in the pool and everybody laughs, ha ha, and then they keep it off, and suddenly the breasts are there. And now there's kind of permission. There's always that thing of the first person that has to drop their suit before I can drop my suit. I don't want to be the first one. So there's that
Right.
mental game that goes on. And after you get beyond that and you're comfortable, then you're ready to then go off into the social thing. And I find there's two kinds of nudists: those who will be nude in front of people who they are friends with, that they know, that they have relations with, they know won't judge them, and they're fine. They would never go to a beach. They would never go to a club. Oh my God, all those people, all those eyes. And then the other people who will only go to a beach or to a club because they don't know anybody there. The anonymity is what they crave. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nobody here is going to know me. I can do this, and this is my secret, and I can have this secret side of my life. But God forbid I tell anybody that I really know. That's kind of the experience I went through, where I went through both. But the fun part is when you go to a club and you are in the swimming around the pool, and one of your neighbors is there. And then you go, oh my God, and then you're
Yeah.
out. That's happened a few times. But always a fun moment. But yeah, that's those are the normal experiences for nudism. But if you're there and they're there, don't have a bond. You say we both had the same experience, and now you're friends. One, you have the secret. You don't dare tattle on the other person. It's like if you see your boss at one of these places, you now have a job for life because he doesn't dare fire you.
That's true.
That kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, very similar to what you said earlier during our discussion. You found little by little people from your workplace were naturist nudists. They just never talked about it.
Right.
And I had the same experience. People above me, like in upper management when I was still quite young, one of them pulled me aside and he had seen me somewhere. We had run into each other. And he said, "Are you not aware that basically most of us in upper management are nudists?" I said, "No, nobody ever said a word. I didn't know anybody was. I thought I was the only one." He goes, "Not even close." He said, "I'm not going to pull you into that group yet. You'll have to, get yourself in a higher position." He goes, "Then you'll become one of us, and then we can go to all these clubs together." And very appropriately, expressed to me. It wasn't anything off kilter. So there are a lot of people out there, but because of jobs, that's the one we hear a lot. Well, I can't tell anybody because if they find out at work, I'm going to get fired. And that's just awful. And technically, legally, maybe you can't fire somebody because they like to take their clothes off on the weekend.
But you'll find another reason.
I was going to say, there's always a way to get them. Oh, you were 3 cents over on your expense report here, Bob. So we're going to have to let you go. There's always a way to get somebody if you want to get rid
I
of
should
them.
tell you that so after I left Intel, I was Intel for many, many years. I was as a training manager for them. And a few people there knew. Most of the management did not know, and I have no idea what who wasn't a nudist. But I left them to go be a training manager for the Navy. I worked over here at the local Navy base as a training manager in their IT department, and I had to go. I had to have a top secret clearance, so I had to go through all kinds of hoops for that. And of course, they did a background check, and they found I was nudist, and they asked me about it, and I said yes. Now I'm a nudist. I'm the president of the organization, and I've written several articles on it. I've had my picture in the magazine, and they said, "Well, fine. We just want to be sure that you're not trying to hide on it. So it'd be something that you could be, vulnerable to foreign use or something. As long as you're nude and proud, you have no problem because you're out." And nobody's going to ever try to bribe you with it. I went, thank you. So I got my top secret clearance, and it was fine. Now I have other people who work for the Navy who were nudists. I found out later, down the hall from me. We met at a club, and they had worked with me for years, and they were down the hall. And, oh, you are that you are. Oh my God! Oh my God! And they never came out to anybody because they were afraid they'd lose their job and everything. I said, I'm out. Everybody knows what's going on, and they said, well, gee, maybe I should have done that. I mean, it's that fear of losing your job, the fear of having somebody upstairs who doesn't understand and doesn't appreciate. And I think that's one reason why everybody's so closeted. There was a survey that NAC did, Naturist Action Committee did about 10 years ago. They did several of them over the course of 10, 15 years, asking the public, had they ever, or did they now, or what their opinions was. And I think the number was something like 35% of the public semi-regularly is nude, but they never tell anybody. It's that big of a percentage. It's everybody's bucket list. About 80% have it on the bucket list, but they just haven't done it. So I identified with that from my youth. I was still that way when I was younger. But once you get out there, and my family found out, my mother and my younger sister found out by Googling me and she found all this information, and she went, "Oh my God!" And she went back to my mother. And my mother went, "Oh." So it was a great family secret. Nobody wanted to bring it up at home. At
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, they all had this secret, and I had this secret, and nobody talked about it. And
Yeah.
finally, one day, my youngest sister got mad at me and said, "Well, at least I'm not a nudist."
Oh,
And the whole
geez.
room got quiet. And oh my God! And now, I replied, "Yeah, what would you like to know about it?" And that broke the ice. And everybody said, "Well, okay." Afterwards, I found out my sister kid, they said, "By the way, we skinny dip at home." I didn't want to tell mom either. So, that was my mother just said, "Well, whatever."
Yeah.
You've probably seen thousands of people nude. I said, "Mom, probably closer to 100,000." And she rolled her eyes and said, Don't say it anymore. That's fine." So, we all have those out moments, those moments of terror of being new for the first time on the beach, and the moment of terror coming out to somebody you know. And afterwards, you get through it. It's fine. Nobody cares. Lightning bolts don't hit. You're not just inherited. You're fine.
The very terrific Gary Mussell, longtime president of the SCNA, also a past president for AANR West, and also an author. And on next Saturday's show, which will be episode 111, part 2 of my interview with Gary Mussell. And before we head out, not for the rest of the week, but only for 4 days, because Lisa and I will be together on Wednesday with our brand new Wednesday show. But let's bring back in our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Welcome back, Lisa.
Oh, good to be back for a few seconds. And by the way, I promised you brownies, but I didn't bring them in because I knew your time was short. So there's brownies in the lobby just for you.
Well, are you sure they're still out there? You've been in here for a while. They might be all
Well,
gone by now.
no, but they're still out there because I made them promise they wouldn't have but one until we got back out there.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that. If
Yes, sir.
not, are you willing to make another batch if they're all gone?
Of course.
All right.
Anything for you, Frank.
Oh,
Yeah, gets me in good.
that can go in so many directions. We probably just better stick to the show here.
Yeah, I think so.
Really great to talk to Gary Mussell. Just a wealth of wisdom and knowledge about nudism, naturism, ANR, the whole deal. And I'm really glad we got a chance to talk to him. I know you enjoyed it as well.
Oh, I did. Just hearing some, his experiences and his thoughts about naturism as a whole and how we go forward. It was fabulous, and I can't wait to hear the second part.
Yep, and that'll be coming up next Saturday. And in the meantime, you and I will be coming at everybody live and ready to go. I shouldn't say live. We'll actually record it before we put it out there. But 12 noon Eastern time on this coming Wednesday, July 30. And that will, our listeners will have to adopt new habits now. We have them in the habit of 6 a.m. Eastern time on Spotify every Saturday morning for now 109 straight Saturdays. But now you got to add another habit, and that's 12 noon Eastern time on Spotify every Wednesday. I think they can handle it. How about you?
Yeah, I think they can. Let's hope they can. And I think it'll be fun for all of us. It'll be a little bit more relaxed and also a little bit more in depth than what we've been doing. So let's just go talk more naturism.
Absolutely. With that, Lisa Monroe, we're going to head for the hills. Go out there and have a great close-free week. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great week as well. And be sure to come see us on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Well, you've been listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 109 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.